One more game for the people in the back. So why is it that we pour resources into programs, into schools, but the students still miss the mark on motivation and belonging? And why do some schools consistently achieve and then other schools with similar resources struggle year on year? Why do teachers constantly face burnout within the year? Why are our best teachers exiting the classroom to do other things? Why has your classroom or your school not exceeded your goals and expectations? Story time. I spent 14 years as a counselor in the school system. When I first got there, fresh out of grad school, I was a man with a plan. I was in a Title I school that consistently students were underperforming in the classroom and on the standardized test. And as I sat there year on year, at the beginning of the year, I just thought that this was a problem that was easy to solve. I just needed to know what to do to make that flip. It wasn't that the kids weren't capable. It wasn't that the kids didn't have enough tools. It's that they weren't activating them. The motivation wasn't sometimes there. So we decided to create an elective. I went to the administration and got them to create an elective. An elective that we created, we called it Genius How to Do School. It's a great title. So How to Do School was an elective where we selected the students that were academically underperforming, whether it was because of their effort, whether it was because of manageable behavior, it wasn't anything crazy. And we wanted to bring them into an environment where they had all the supports they would need in order to succeed. I found a teacher, a strong teacher, who had great classroom management, had great academic results in their classroom, and we teamed up and we co-taught this elective. Now, we loved on the kids. We had lessons that taught them the skills that we need, how to study, how to take notes, all these things. We showed up day after day with new ideas. We, pulled kids out. I did my best inspirational, motivational talks. Long story short, nothing changed. And nothing changed because we violated one major rule and we undermined one step in the process I'm about to share. You don't have an infinite amount of time, you don't have an infinite amount of resources, and when you have those limitations, you must put your investment of that small amount of time and those small amount of resources into the most critical step that is going to give you the highest return. Now, we've been told what we should do and how we should go about to get the return that we need, but the psychology doesn't back it up. Though your intention is good, though your effort is strong, you consistently underperform just because we're not following the process. The process that we should have followed to get a better result is 5 steps. These 5 steps are almost like a checklist. Do your students want to come to school? Do they give you quality effort? Do they believe in themselves? Do they believe in the process? Are they challenged individually at their highest level? And then the last step is going to be evaluating all the other steps. So when you're thinking about these steps, you're gonna kind of go through and check off what you feel like I'm good at, what you feel like that you're strong in your classroom environment. And then let's dive a little bit deeper, because though, as I said before, people tell you what you should do, but do we actually know that this is where we should spend our resources and our time? So let's talk about the how do you know. How do you know that your students want to come to school? How do you know that? How do you know that they're giving quality effort, and what does quality effort look like? How do you know that the students believe in themselves, and what does belief look like? How do you know that you're challenging every student at their individual level, and how do you know what challenge looks like? How do you know? Well, you have to know by understanding actions, behaviors, and data, or evolved data. Let's talk about actions. Actions are the process of doing something. Somebody does something, that's an action. Behaviors are actions or a collection of actions in response to a situation or a stimulus. And then the data is a qualitative reflection. Evolved data is a qualitative reflection of actions and behaviors. For example, or understanding if students want to come to school. You have attendance that shows students are showing up. So you have the data on the student, they are here. If you give them a survey that has different questions asking about their desire to be at the school, then you get a full picture of whether or not that stage 1, the student wants to come to school. So the actions are what's happening, is what you're witnessing. And the behaviors are actions or reactions to you, the classroom, the environment, the culture, the school. So you want to have evolved data that shows you exactly what you're trying to capture, which is the desire to want to come to school, stage 1. Now let's review the stages real quick. Get them to want to come to school, stage 1. Stage 2 is get them to try. Stage 3 is get them to believe. Stage 4 is challenge them at their level. And then stage 5 is evaluate all of the stages. And you evaluate all the stages by looking at actions, looking at behaviors, and looking at data that is telling you that these actions and behaviors are moving you in the direction that you want to go. Now you want to write all this down. You want to break it out. You want to put different sections and put all of your information. What actions are you seeing? Also think about the negative actions that are taken away from each of those stages. Write all of your information down until you have a diagram that shows you where you're strong and where you're weak. When you see where you're strong, you're like, all right, check that off. When you see where you're weak, find the lowest stage and then start activating and start working at that stage. You want to work on the lowest stage first. When you're working on the lowest stage first, then you're able to move on throughout the process. If you don't work on stage 1, there's no need of working on stage 2 or stage 3 or stage 4, because at some point it's going to all break down because the foundation is not strong. Now the big challenge in this is all of your glitz and glam is gonna be stage 4. Stage 4 gets all of the attention. Stage 4 is where you can invest all of your time. It'll take all of your money. It will pull all of your resources, because that's where people think the magic happens. In our scenario, we were focused on activities that were supposed to be supporting stage 4, which was getting them the school skills, was teaching them what they needed to do in the classroom, but we missed some of the other stages. What we did have is that they were there. They did start coming to school, and they were coming to school consistently because of the environment that they were in. They felt supported. They felt that they were getting one-on-one attention. They oftentimes at certain points would give a little bit of effort. Wouldn't say it was necessarily quality effort, but they were giving effort. The stage that we failed on was the belief stage. And we failed on the belief stage because you can't fake belief. And if you truly believe in someone, then the actions and behaviors that respond to that situation and that stimulus, because the kids are evaluating our actions and our behaviors, did not say belief. It said, we don't believe in you. The way that we framed the class, the way that we brought the kids into the class, the way that we started to teach, our intentions were great, but our intentions reinforced the opposite behaviors that we were trying to seek. The behaviors that we wanted were for them to gain the information, to gain the skills, and then go in the classroom, put those skills to work, and then start to build and build and build and become very successful. What we got was, we got the reinforcement of, I should still be this, still have these behaviors or still have these actions, because I'm going to get the support, I'm going to get the attention, I'm going to get the one-on-one, I'm going to get the counseling session, I'm going to get the hanging out with the cool teacher, I'm going to get all that automatically, so I just continue doing what I'm doing. So we failed at the belief stage. We were investing in stage 4, which is often what happens, and stage 4 fell apart because the foundation fell apart. And what we were reinforcing wasn't the actions and the behaviors that were aligned to the goals and expectations that we were setting out at the beginning of the class. This is a classic scenario on why educators get burned out or they get overwhelmed. It's because your intention is good, your heart is good, your work is good, you're going to school before the sun comes up, you're leaving after the sun goes down, and you're pushing in stage 4, but the foundation doesn't have the same investment. The foundation doesn't have the same level of attention, and therefore the harsh return on investment is not getting the most resources. And so you're spinning your wheels, doing great work, but that great work they're not ready for it yet. So what you have to do is we have to build on the foundation. And the way that we build on the foundation at each stage is you want to look at the levels, because every stage has a level. And if you have your diagram all written down, look at your diagram and see what level you are at each stage. If you have to create something new, you obviously know something's not working. I need to create something new. That is a level 1. So you're now at a level 1 in that stage. And if that stage is the lowest stage, that's the stage you start with first. So if you have something that is working and that you have to consistently give effort and energy and attention to it, not a problem. That's a great place to be. You're at a level 2. So level 1 is you need to build something new. Level 2 is I have something, I have to keep focusing on it, keep working on it, keep tweaking it, keep getting it year on year in order for it to be successful. Level 2, something is in place, gotta focus on it. Moving things to a level 3 is when it's successfully working in the background. When it's successfully working in the background, it becomes a part of your school environment. It becomes a part of what I like to call culture. Culture works in the background. Culture happens before the kid comes into your school or the classroom. The culture is already letting them know what the expectation is, how they should show up, and what they should do. They're already getting signals because that's what the culture is doing. So when you have this environment, when you have this culture that is alive, it works until it doesn't. It's not always going to work. But once you know how to build culture, you know how to build culture. So if you have to break it all the way down, you know how to build it back up, the new information that you have. If you go to a new school, if your dynamic of your children change, if the world changes after a pandemic, you're now able to go back and look at all of the stages, look at all the levels, and start to rebuild that culture. You'll find that you will have consistent success because you know what activities, what actions, what behaviors to reinforce. Here's the deal. If students want to come to school, if they give you quality effort, if they believe in themselves and the process, then and they're challenged at their level, they will grow, they will be inspired, and they will be forever impacted by their educational experience, right? Yes, and going back to my original story, there was one rule that we violated, that even if we went through all of the stages, we would still only get a minimal amount of success. And the big rule that we violated is you have to target the right group. You have to target the right group to get the most return on your investment. There's a 10-80-10 rule. 10% of kids are going to come to school academically distracted. They face external factors that are creating barriers to their engagement and their success in the academic environment. 10% of kids are going to come to you academically advanced. Not that they're smarter or that they're better. They're just moving faster because they have external factors that are activating or that are actively removing barriers to their success in an academic environment. Give you an example. A distracted student could have a parent at home that allows them to stay home, that could encourage them to stay home and not necessarily go to school. They have video games, they get to sleep all day. It's just a wonderful place for them to I don't have to go to school because I'm going to do this. Their attendance is going to reflect that. Their desire for school is also going to be reflective of that because the parent is reinforcing actions and behaviors that are opposite what they would need in order to be successful. On the flip side, you can have a parent that is also a teacher, and since day one, they have been preparing their child with how to do well in academic environments. They're reinforcing skills, they're having conversations, they're priming their students all the time. School is important. When you get into the classroom, this is how you need to operate, what you need to do. And their school is going to come in with qualities and behaviors that are going to remove the barriers of the academic environment because they have that parent that is giving them that information all the time. Now, take out those 10%, you got 80% left. 80% of students are gonna be a mixed bag. They aren't gonna be fully distracted, but they also aren't going to be an out-the-box A/B student. So we, as educators in this environment, and the 80% is where we get to see our impact. We get to see our impact in the 80%. Think about it as tug of war. You got 10% on one side, 10% on the other side. 10 and 10 are going to equal each other out. The rope ain't going nowhere. It's just going to stay, the little flag is going to stay in the middle. But now you have 80% of kids you get to allocate to one side or the other. If I put more kids on one side, the group is going to move in this way. Your culture, your foundation, your levels are moving the 80%. If I get them 80% of kids to want to come to school, if I get 80% of kids to try, if I get 80% of kids to believe, if I have 80% of kids that I understand individually what they need and I'm pushing them at their level, then what I'm going to get is I'm going to have a school environment and a school culture, if these things are operating in the background, that is going to push the top 10, which is the academically advanced, and it is going to pull along the academically distracted. Because though they may be distracted, they're in an environment where there's nothing else for them to do but learn or to grow or to just be a part of this process. The other thing that can truly disrupt this process is having flawed psychology. We believe that humans use logic to make decisions, when in fact our brains are so powerful and they're required to do so much on a daily basis that we have developed shortcuts to preserve energy and to make decisions quickly. These shortcuts are called cognitive biases. And they're so powerful that even though you may know about the cognitive bias, you will still fall susceptible to it. Marketing and advertising companies have learned this and have used this to their benefit. They've spent $551.9 billion in 2024 in advertising and marketing because they understand that if I tap into the human psychology, I am going to get the result. So even though you have a beautiful, logical plan, even though it makes so much sense, even though the intention is all good, if the psychology is flawed, you're still not going to get the result that you're looking for. In our scenario, we had great logic. Kids need to build school skills. We create an elective for school skills. We have a dynamic counselor. We have a accomplished teacher. Then the two of them tag team are going to be able to inspire the students, and they're going to come out of that class with a whole different perception, a whole different engagement into the educational environment. When the fact of the matter is that we did not check the psychology. And we lost them at the belief stage. We did not let them understand. We did not get to know each one of them individually to know exactly what is it that you want to do in the future, and then connect that to the academic environment. So as you are starting to rethink your strategies and starting to put your plan together for school, make sure you follow the process. Make sure that the kids want to be there. Make sure they give you effort. Make sure that they believe in themselves and the process. Then challenge them individually at their level. And if you have all those things, evaluate the stages. If all that's not working, are you focused on the right group? And do you have the right psychology? If you enjoyed this and you want to learn more or to dive in more, please give us a like, subscribe. Cheers to being a culture creator.